Have you ever felt like to get ahead, you had to be the loudest person in the room? That to be a leader, you had to be this super charismatic, backslapping extrovert? Well, what if all of that is just wrong? In this explainer, we are diving deep into Susan Cain's incredible book, Quiet. And let me tell you, it doesn't just challenge these ideas, it completely tears them down. We're going to explore why our world is basically built for extroverts. We'll debunk the myth that charisma is the same as leadership, and, most important of all, I'm going to give you the actual tools from the book to harness your own quiet power. By the end of this, you won't just see introversion differently. I promise you'll see the whole world differently. Okay, let's get into it.
First off, let's just wrap our heads around the sheer scale of what we're talking about here. The research that Cain presents in the book is absolutely staggering. Anywhere from 1/3 to 1/2 of the entire population are introverts. That means 1 out of every 2 or 3 people you know, your coworkers, your friends, your family, and yeah, maybe even you. This isn't some small niche group we're talking about. It's a massive, powerful part of humanity whose greatest strengths are just constantly being overlooked.
And right away, that leads to the really fundamental and honestly kind of unsettling question the book makes you ask yourself. What if the very things our society cheers for, in our schools that demand constant group projects, in our jobs that love open-plan offices, in our social lives that reward the life of the party, what if all that is based on a personality type that half of us just don't naturally fit into? It kind of suggests we're all living with this powerful, invisible bias, one that's actively holding millions of people back from being their best selves.
So how in the world did we get here? How did we get to a place that basically undervalues half its people? To figure that out, we have to look at what Susan Cain calls the extrovert ideal. We're going to unpack a huge historical shift that completely changed who we look up to and why. Now, what's really key here is what this ideal actually is. It's this belief that's just everywhere. The idea that the best way to be is to be a person of action over contemplation, a risk taker over someone who's cautious. And it's not just a small preference, it's a really powerful standard. I mean, think about it. Our schools are now full of desks clumped together for nonstop group work, and our offices have become these huge, wide-open spaces that make it almost impossible to get any deep, quiet thinking done. It's a world built for the talker, not the thinker.
So how did this happen? Well, the book traces it back brilliantly to the turn of the 20th century. America was shifting from this rural culture of character where, in a small town, everybody knew you and your reputation, to a nation of big, anonymous cities. And all of a sudden, there was this new pressure. You had to sell yourself to complete strangers. A young, anxious guy named Dale Carnegie was basically the poster child for this. He worked so hard to transform himself from a pig farmer's son into a public speaking master, and in doing so, he taught an entire generation that charm and a big personality were the new keys to success.
And this just lays out the change so clearly. Back in the 19th century's culture of character, the words people used to admire someone were all about their inner substance, words like duty, honor, integrity. Now, fast forward to the 1920s, and the self-help books were filled with words praising your outer charm, magnetic, fascinating, dominant. The whole focus just flipped from who you were in private to how you came across in public. The substance of your character started to matter less than the style of your personality. So this obsession with personality created this powerful myth, right? The idea that to be a real leader, you have to have this magnetic, extroverted vibe. In this next section, we're going to see how quiet just completely takes that idea apart. This brings us to one of the book's most powerful points. Quiet is strong. I mean, just think about Rosa Parks for a second. The power she had, the power that changed the world, it didn't come from a loud voice or some huge stage presence. No, it came from her quiet, unshakable resolve. As Cain points out, if a fiery, loud person had refused to give up that bus seat, it just wouldn't have had the same deep moral impact as this modest, gentle woman who was so clearly acting from a place of deep principle. Her introversion wasn't a weakness. In that moment, it was the very source of her incredible strength. And you know what? Modern science backs this up in a beautiful way. Just look at this fascinating study by Adam Grant. He looked at pizza franchises, of all things, and found something amazing. Extroverted leaders, they were great with passive employees, the ones who just followed orders. They boosted profits by 16%. But when the employees were proactive, full of their own great ideas, it was the introverted leaders who got the best results. Why? Because they actually listened to their teams and let them run with those good ideas. And here's the most shocking part. The extroverted leaders with a proactive team, they actually saw profits go down. They were so busy trying to put their own stamp on things that they completely talked over all the great ideas coming from their own people.
You know, this ability of introverted leaders to listen and let good ideas come to the surface, it leads us right to another one of society's big blind spots, the one about creativity and innovation. We're told over and over again that collaboration and group brainstorming are the secret sauce. But what if the exact opposite is true?
I mean, just let that sink in. This isn't some random consultant saying this. It's Steve Wozniak, the engineering genius who pretty much single-handedly designed the first Apple computers in his garage. He was famously shy, he lived inside his own head, and he was convinced that true, game-changing creativity doesn't happen in a noisy group. It happens in the focused quiet of being alone. He literally credits his biggest breakthroughs to the time he spent working all by himself.
And as the book shows, Wozniak's gut feeling is backed up by decades of research. Study after study shows that group brainstorming sessions consistently come up with fewer and lower quality ideas than the same number of people just working by themselves and then pooling their thoughts later. And the path to getting truly great at anything, what researchers call deliberate practice, is almost always something you do alone. It requires that deep, uninterrupted focus, the very thing that's impossible to get in a meeting or an open-plan office.
So, if introversion is this powerful, why do so many of us feel like it's a flaw, something we need to get over? Well, it turns out a huge part of the answer isn't about our choices, it's about our biology. As we're about to see, being an introvert or an extrovert isn't some lifestyle decision, it's literally wired into our nervous systems from the day we're born. Now this is where it gets really cool. A psychologist named Dr. Jerome Kagan did this study on 4-month-old babies and found he could predict with stunning accuracy who would grow up to be an introvert. The key was how they reacted to new things. The high-reactive babies, the ones who kicked and cried and got all worked up, they grow up to be the thoughtful, cautious introverts. Their nervous systems are just more sensitive. They're wired to take in more information. And the calm, low-reactive babies, they grow up to be extroverts, always looking for more stimulation to feel alive and engaged.
So, okay, let's make this personal for a minute. Think about your own wiring. Do you find that a deep, one-on-one chat is way more satisfying than trying to make small talk in a big group?
And what about your energy levels? After a fun party or a busy day full of meetings, do you get home feeling totally amped up? Or do you feel this desperate need to just retreat and recharge by yourself in a quiet place? See, this isn't about being shy or not. It's about how your internal battery works. And one last one. It's simple, but it's so telling. The sudden, unexpected demand of a phone call can feel really jarring to a nervous system that likes to process things first. If you found yourself nodding your head to most of these, there's a really good chance you fall on the introverted side of things.
Okay, this is where the book goes from being fascinating to being an incredibly powerful guide for your life. Knowing your biology is one thing, but knowing how to use it to really thrive in a world that wasn't built for you, well, that changes everything. Let's dig into some of the practical strategies quiet has to offer.
This brings us to this amazing idea from Professor Brian Little called free trait theory. Now, this isn't about faking it till you make it. Not at all. It's about realizing that for the people and the projects that you truly care about, your deep passions, your most important work, you can absolutely stretch beyond your natural self. So an introverted scientist who hates parties can get on a stage at a conference and be this totally captivating speaker when she's talking about her research. That passion becomes her core project, and it gives her the energy to act out of character for something she deeply believes in.
But acting out of character, it takes a toll. It drains that internal battery we talked about. And that's why this next concept, the restorative niche, is so important. This is your personal sanctuary. It could be taking a 10-minute walk by yourself between intense meetings, or closing your office door for a half hour just to think. It could even be hiding in the bathroom for a few minutes of peace at a loud party. It's this essential, non-negotiable habit of recharging, so you can be your best self. So how do you find those core projects that are actually worth stretching yourself for? Cain gives us this brilliant 3-step guide. First, look back at what you loved to do as a kid. Before the world told you what you should be doing. That often points to your true self. Second, look at the work you're just naturally drawn to right now. And third, and this one is so fascinating, pay attention to what you envy. Cain argues that jealousy is actually a powerful clue. It points directly to what your soul really wants.
And this brings us right back to where we started. We began this journey in a world that had traded the quiet substance of character for the loud performance of personality. But the beautiful, empowering message of quiet is that you get to choose. You don't have to be defined by that extrovert ideal. You can choose to honor your own nature and build a life around your own unique and truly powerful, quiet strengths.
Everything we've covered today, Honestly, we've only just scratched the surface. If any of this resonated with you, I truly can't recommend Quiet enough. The book is just packed with so much more fascinating research, amazing stories, and practical advice for not just surviving, but actually thriving as you are. Thanks so much for watching. If you found this valuable, please go ahead and subscribe for more deep dives like this. And make sure you click the link in the description to get your own copy of Quiet and continue this journey. I'll see you next time.